Hello there, and welcome to Sleep Science 360. I'm glad you drifted in tonight. Maybe the day stretched a little too far, or maybe you're someone who finds comfort in soft science and gentle wonder as you fall asleep. Either way, this quiet space belongs to you now. Your mind begins to loosen, your breathing slows, your body grows light, as if the weight of the day is dissolving grain by grain. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Because tonight we're not climbing into the stars. We're sinking into the calm beneath them, into the warm, slow-moving world of coral reefs, ancient cities of color, shaped over millions of years, growing one quiet moment at a time. They glow, they drift, they hold stories written in salt and sunlight. And as the night settles around you, these stories begin to rise like gentle tides, leading you toward 100 sleepy facts shaped for rest. You settle into the dim softness of your room, where the last lights of the day have already faded into a gentle blue. Your body loosens slowly, quietly, as if the world around you is lowering its voice just for you tonight. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. You can rest now. The night holds you in a warm stillness, and the long rhythm of the ocean begins to rise behind your thoughts. 2 slow breaths, 1 long exhale. Your shoulders drift downward, easy and unhurried. The soundless memory of water gathers around you like a tide returning home. Somewhere far away, light travels for about 8 minutes from the sun to earth, arriving with the same calm patience you feel in your chest. And somewhere, even farther away from the surface, coral reefs glow with colors as tender as early dawn. You can rest now. The first shapes appear in your mind. Pale blues, warm golds, slow ripples moving through shallow seas. You don't need to follow them. They come to you naturally, like waves, remembering their way back to shore. Your breath stays slow and low. You drift a little deeper into the feeling of being held by water that has forgotten how to hurry. The night softens around you, and a quiet sense of arrival settles in your body. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. And now, the story of the reefs begins to open, not in sudden brightness, but in gentle layers that move at the speed of calm. Coral reefs grow slowly, often just a few millimeters a year, shaping themselves grain by grain. Their patience is their language. Some of the oldest reef structures began forming more than 7,000 years ago, quietly building themselves through warm tides. The truth of their slowness floats beside you like shells resting on silent sand. In your mind, the reef becomes a gentle city of color. Not bright, not loud, just shimmering faintly in soft, blue light. You can rest now, and as you breathe, the ocean inside these images deepens, pulling you into its warm, unhurried space. The shallow seas where reefs form often remain around 20 to 26 degrees Celsius, warm enough for life to drift without strain. Temperature becomes a cradle for color. Above these warm shapes, sunlight fades gently within 10 or 15 meters, softening everything it touches until brightness becomes a whisper. You picture that quiet glow sliding through drifting particles. The reef around you is no longer a place, but a slow-moving dream. Each shape moves with the rhythm of a heartbeat slowed by peace. You can rest now. Somewhere light continues to travel, and the world beneath it remains calm. Coral polyps, small beings, only a few millimeters wide, gather by the thousands to build the vast structures you imagine now. small lives shaping large wonders. Some of these structures stretch for hundreds of kilometers, linking one quiet world to another beneath the same warm sea. Distance becomes softness when measured in drifting light. You see them as small lanterns beneath the water, glowing together in steady harmony. Your breath deepens steady low. Within this stillness, your body releases another layer of weight. You can rest now. The night settles more deeply around your thoughts, and the reef's warm presence expands with a quiet sigh. Reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, yet their presence radiates far beyond their size. They cradle nearly a quarter of all marine species, not through force, but through patient shelter. Life gathers where calmness is constant. The reef becomes a slow world of shadows and color, where tiny fish drift like flecks of moving light. No hurry, no sharp edges. Everything follows the steady rhythm of warm tides. A sense of belonging settles soft and low in your chest. You can rest now, and as your breathing evens out, the story continues like a tide that refuses to rush. Some coral reefs begin with a single drifting larva settling on a stone no wider than a fingertip. From these small anchors, quiet worlds begin to form. Decades may pass before a reef rises a meter in height, growing slowly, like a memory being rebuilt grain by grain. Time becomes a gentle companion. The imagery around you dissolves into a pale turquoise haze. Soft shapes shift like distant clouds underwater. Your breath follows them unhurried. Warmth pools beneath your ribs, and your mind loosens into openness. You can rest now. The night moves like a tide across your thoughts, steady and low. In some reefs, water drifts at only a few centimeters, each second shaping a world defined by slowness. The stillness allows tiny particles of light to linger longer, dancing softly across coral surfaces like falling dust. Motion becomes glow. You see those specks turning gently, never in a rush to disappear. They hover like small stars resting between breaths. Your body mirrors their quiet suspension. Calm rises through you, smooth and deep. You can rest now. The ocean within your imagination widens, soundless and warm. Some corals feed by extending fragile tentacles at night, rising into the dark to gather what the water carries. Darkness becomes nourishment. During the day, they share energy with algae, living inside their tissues. A partnership that gives reefs their gentle colors. Cooperation becomes light. You picture those small movements, almost invisible, yet patient and confident. Everything in this world feels gentle by design. Your breath falls into an even drifting rhythm. A quiet sense of harmony fills your chest like warm air rising slowly. You can rest now. The night softens further, as if the entire ocean were lowering its shoulders. In shallow reefs, sunlight bends softly as it enters the sea, taking only a fraction of a second to cross the surface. Light learns to slow down. Underwater, it scatters into blues and greens, the colors that drift farthest and calm the world they touch. Color becomes breath. The image around you shifts into a layer of blue, illuminated from within. It moves like silk, drifting through warm currents. Your breathing drifts with it, slow and warm. Comfort settles into your limbs like gentle weight sinking into sand. You can rest now. The night around you grows deeper, yet remains soft, like a tide that never hurries. Some reefs rise only a few meters below the surface, so close that waves break gently over their tops. Sound becomes a soft heartbeat. Each wave carries grains of broken shells, forming pale sands that shimmer quietly in shallow water. Sand becomes a memory of motion. You picture that faint sand rolling like fog beneath the water's edge. It drifts in slow spirals, settling and rising in a rhythm older than stories. Your breath follows its pace. Peace widens in your chest. With each quiet exhale, you can rest now. Somewhere, a distant current turns with the softness of a sigh. Far across the sea, the Great Barrier Reef stretches more than 2,000 kilometers, a ribbon of ancient light along a warm coast. Length becomes calmness when traveled only in thought. In some places, the water remains clear for dozens of meters, letting sunlight glide deep into the sea without resistance. Clarity becomes serenity. You see long columns of light descending through blue water, as if the sky were sinking slowly into the sea. Nothing rushes, nothing disturbs. Everything moves at the speed of rest. Your body feels heavier in the most peaceful way, like settling into soft sand warmed by afternoon sunday. You can rest now. The night, patient and warm, holds you steady. A reflective line drifts through you, quiet as a tide without wind. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. Your breath remains slow. Your body stays light. The reef glows softly in the distance of your imagination, fading to deeper blues as the night deepens around you. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. We drift together into a deeper layer of night, where colors soften and shapes turn gentle at the edges. The room around you fades into a quiet blue haze, and the world of coral begins to glow with a softer pulse. The shift from you to we feels natural now, like two travelers sharing the same warm tide. A long breath moves through the silence. Then, another, slower, lower. It's okay to drift. The ocean, within your imagination, returns in broad, calm strokes, carrying with it the warmth and patience of ancient light. Far below the surface of warm seas, reefs hold temperatures that stay steady through long seasons, rarely shifting more than a few degrees at a time. That steadiness becomes the foundation of everything that thrives here. Light itself changes slowly as it passes through clear water, needing only the span of a heartbeat to bend and settle into the blue that surrounds it. These gentle truths flow outward like ripples through still pools, touching everything without disturbing anything. It becomes easier now for the mind to follow the reef's pace. Movements grow smaller, lighter, softer. Fish drift in curved lines that look like thoughts, half formed. Shadows hide themselves in warm pockets of water. Nothing pushes, nothing demands, nothing intrudes. And in this soft motion, comfort rises like a warm current moving upward through the chest. It's okay to drift. The reef reveals another layer, quieter than the one before. It is said that many coral species feed primarily at night, lifting their delicate tentacles into the darkness as soft currents deliver what they need. Darkness becomes a gentle rain of nourishment. During the daylight hours, tiny algae living inside their tissues trade light for life, turning sunlight into energy that glows as color across the reef. Color becomes a quiet form of breath. The world beneath the waves is shaped like a conversation between light and life, taking place slowly, patiently, without words. The imagery around you expands into long, drifting corridors made of blue and green. Soft beams of shallow light glide across coral branches like fingers brushing silk. Everything feels unhurried. Everything feels old in a comforting way. The kind of age that has already weathered every storm and learned how to rest through all of them. A low exhale softens the chest. It's okay to drift. The night begins to feel thicker, warmer, as if your thoughts were wrapped in layers of calm water. In parts of the tropics, coral reefs can be found in waters so clear that visibility stretches for 30 meters or more. Clarity becomes a form of quiet. And beneath this clarity, some corals grow in rounded heads so large that it may take centuries for them to reach the size of a small room. Time becomes a companion that moves slowly at your side. These two simple truths settle into the mind like grains of pale sand drifting downward in warm currents. The reef that now forms in your thoughts is serene. Wide formations, shaped like domes, and fans spread across the seafloor. Soft curtains of seagrass sway in slow patterns, as if breathing on their own. Small fish drift like tiny sparks moving in and out of the coral's warm glow. In this world, movement is not action, it is simply being. The night folds another layer of stillness around your body. It's okay to drift. Somewhere in the distance of this underwater dreamscape, currents shift by only a few centimeters each second. This slow motion carries larvae drifting leaves of life that may travel for days before finding a place to settle. Motion becomes destiny, guided by gentleness. And when those tiny forms finally land on a quiet stone or shell, they begin building new structures, one thin layer at a time, adding only microns each night. Growth becomes patience, made visible. The image of these small beginnings settles into the space behind your eyes. Coral larvae, glowing slightly in the drifting light, hover and turn, as if deciding which piece of the ocean floor feels like home. Their stillness becomes your stillness. The way they move becomes the way your thoughts move. Slow arcs, soft spirals, no rush. A warm heaviness forms at the base of your spine, inviting the body to sink deeper into rest. It's okay to drift. Light shifts, again becoming softer and more diffuse. It touches the reef the way fog touches morning cliffs, lightly, briefly, then gently fading. Sunlight can only reach so far, perhaps 20 or 30 meters, in bright conditions, before it dissolves into dim blues. Dimness becomes protection. In this quieter zone, shadows stretch long over the sandy bottom. Fish move like silhouettes gliding through ancient light. The reef breathes with a rhythm so slow, it feels like a memory of time. It is in this zone that some of the calmest scenes unfold. Large coral heads rise like monuments of pale gold. Branching formations spread across the seafloor like frozen lightning, though nothing about them feels sharp. Everything is rounded, softened, touched by warmth. The night inside your chest matches the calm of this underwater world. A rhythm so steady, it feels inevitable. It's okay to drift. Reefs often grow on the edges of continental shelves where warm waters meet faintly deeper blue. These meeting places create gentle slopes where life gathers in quiet abundance. Along these slopes, small fish sometimes travel only a few meters, their entire lives, living within the same patch of coral for years. Familiarity becomes safety. These peaceful truths drift toward your awareness like small lanterns floating on a slow tide. Images shift again, deepening into softer colors. Pale green becomes emerald. Soft blue becomes midnight. The reef begins to glow subtly from within, as if holding its own light. Schools of silvery fish drift through this glow, turning their bodies in slow unison, moving like a single thought, passing through a resting mind. You follow the shape without needing to understand it. You simply acknowledge its calmness. The warmth beneath your ribs spreads like light in deep water. It's okay to drift. Near the reef's crest, waves roll overhead with gentle sound muffled into a steady thrum. This sound never startles. It pulses like a distant heartbeat. Over thousands of years, these waves grind pieces of coral skeleton into soft white sand that settles at the base of the reef. Sand becomes a memory of movement. These grains shift and rearrange with each small current, never resisting, always flowing into new forms. The image of shifting sand spirals in your thoughts like soft smoke. Patterns appear and dissolve without effort. Shapes form and fade. The motions are continuous, but never demanding. They reflect the slow rearranging of your own awareness, a gentle settling into deeper night. The body loosens further, legs grow heavy, shoulders soften. The spine releases its held breath. It's okay to drift. The reef extends outward now in all directions. It feels endless, but not overwhelming. It feels ancient, but not distant. It feels alive in a way that makes life seem gentle, not busy. In many tropical seas, the water above the reef remains around 24 or 25 degrees through long stretches of the year. Warmth becomes a quiet constant, and in the thin layer of water, just above the coral branches, small plankton drift, slowly rising at night and sinking at dawn. Rhythm becomes a soft tide within a tide. The reef deepens in color as the night deepens around you. Warm hues dissolve into cooler tones as though evening were settling underwater. Light bends and glides through spaces between coral branches. Fish flicker like small moving stars. You follow the slow movement, the soft shimmer, the gentle turning of things that have lived for centuries. A sigh moves through your chest. It's okay to drift. Suspended in this imagery, it becomes easy to imagine how coral skeletons slowly accumulate, layer upon layer, over decades and centuries. These structures are built so gradually you might never notice change from one day to the next. Growth becomes a form of peace. And deep within the reef, cavities and tunnels form, sheltering small creatures from the bright world outside. Shelter becomes a natural kindness shaped by time. The reef's quiet architecture unfolds, like a dream that knows it has hours to stretch into. No corners, no boundaries, only soft edges and slow curves. Fish weave between coral branches like thoughts drifting across a sleepy mind. Your breath stays low and quiet, moving like warm water slipping through narrow spaces. A deeper calm settles into your torso. It's okay to drift. The night, warm and deep, seems to tilt slightly towards softness. The reef dims in brightness, but not in presence. Shadows grow longer. The water grows stiller. Even the smallest motions feel deliberate, as if everything knows how to conserve its energy. In this quiet zone, where the reef meets the open sea, visibility slowly fades. The boundary becomes a soft blur. Blending becomes comfort. It is said that in healthy reefs, thousands of species may coexist in harmony, each finding small spaces to live without disturbing the others. Harmony becomes a natural state. Tiny shrimp clean the scales of resting fish. Snails graze on algae covering coral surfaces. Small currents carry food between delicate structures. Everything fits. Nothing rushes. Nothing harms. These truths settle lightly inside you, like warm droplets falling into still water. The imagery around you expands into a wide, spacious calm. A slow drift through soft light. The reef glows less now, but the glow feels warmer. Shapes blend. Colors merge. Shadows lengthen. Thoughts slow. Breath deepens. The body sinks further into the mattress beneath you. Chest rises and falls like gentle tides. It's okay to drift. A gentle line of reflection returns like a tide whispering across sand. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It lingers for a long moment, then dissolves into the warm darkness around you. The reef, patient and ancient, waits silently for whatever the night brings next. Your breath joins its rhythm, slow and unbroken. Everything grows still. It stretches now like a landscape without edges, a world shaped by calm light that bends and softens across every surface. The reef does not rush to reveal itself. It only waits patient and warm, holding centuries inside structures that look delicate but endure the long breath of time. The night grows quieter around your body. The images drift, more slowly expanding and fading like gentle waves rising under moonlit water. In shallow seas, entire coral formations can rest only a meter or two beneath the surface, close enough for sunlight to touch them with a softened glow. That glow moves through the water like warmth in motion. And in deeper sections, where the sun cannot reach, as easily faint blues dominate, creating a world of shadows shaped by peace rather than fear. These quiet truths settle like sand, falling through still water light and unhurried. Small fish glide between coral branches as if following invisible pathways carved through the reef's architecture. Their bodies shimmer in low light, catching brief flashes of silver and pale gold. They move in curves rather than angles, arcs rather than lines, motions chosen not for speed, but for softness. Watching them in your mind feels like breathing underwater, slow, smooth, uninterrupted. It's okay to drift. The reef's colors, even when muted by the night, remain vibrant in memory. Many corals glow with faint greens or blues due to natural pigments and gentle interactions with the algae that live inside them. Light becomes part of their language. And further within the reef, where cavities open into small, quiet chambers, the glow fades into gentle darkness. Darkness becomes a kind of comfort, a space where small creatures rest without fear. It moves the way time moves when it finally stops hurrying, soft, steady, quiet. Branching corals spread like slow flames frozen in midair. Round corals rise like warm stones smoothed by countless tidal breaths. Layered corals stack in calm, horizontal sheets, each one shaped by soft currents and long days. The shapes blend in your imagination into a floating mosaic of blue and gold. And beneath the mosaic, your breath deepens, low and even. It's okay to drift. Currents that reach the reef often travel long distances, moving slowly across open water before brushing against coral structures with the gentlest touch. These currents carry nutrients, tiny drifting lives, and warmth. They bring stories from faraway waters, stories of distant shores, open seas, and deep ocean places, where light fades entirely. Movement becomes a whisper across the reef surface, barely noticeable but always present. It is in this slow exchange between water and coral that life thrives. Coral polyps extend their small tentacles to gather drifting food from the water, capturing what arrives without urgency. Their movements are so small, they appear still, yet each subtle motion sustains the reef. Small truths like these melt quietly into your mind, settling into the spaces your thoughts leave behind. As they slow, the night around you grows even softer. The reef becomes a living city, built without noise, shaped without haste. Cavities beneath the coral shelters host tiny crustaceans that move like specks of drifting glass. Narrow channels allow whispers of current to pass through, carrying warmth deeper into the reef's interior. The entire structure, though silent, seems to hum with ancient purpose, like a lullaby carried through warm water. It's okay to drift. Some corals form vast flat plates that overlap like enormous leaves. Others grow in pillars and towers that reach upward, seeking gentle light. These differences arise from the way sunlight enters the water, curving and dimming, choosing which shapes thrive. Light becomes a sculptor. It chooses softly, never rushed, never abrupt. In deep enough water, where only faint blue remains, corals create wider structures to catch the last glimmers of day. Light and life settle into harmony. It waits, sensing the rhythm of day and night in ways that feel ancient beyond comprehension. When darkness falls, some reef creatures become active in slow, measured patterns. Small fish rise from shelter to feed. Crustaceans shuffle across sandy bottoms. Even the coral polyps open like tiny flowers blooming into dusk. Night becomes renewal, a soft unfurling. Movements blend into a single quiet pulse that feels like the ocean itself is breathing. In the water, just above the reef, clouds of plankton drift upward as the night deepens. These tiny beings rise each evening, traveling tens of meters in slow motion. Their journey is the largest migration on Earth, though it happens silently, without spectacle. Movement becomes ritual, and in their rising, they create shimmering veils above the reef veils that scatter faint moonlight into delicate patterns. It's okay to drift. The reef's shapes glow faintly in this soft pattern, like distant stars beneath the sea. The motion of water shifts the light in long, fluid ribbons. No edges, no sharpness, only slow transitions between shade and glow. This glowing movement mirrors the breath of the night, the slow rhythm of inhaling and exhaling that your body naturally follows. It all connects in quiet ways. The reef, the light, the currents, the warm weight of your chest. The dim world of coral transforms into a sanctuary where time moves differently. In this calm, some coral colonies can grow for centuries without interruption, adding tiny layers each year until they rise into structures taller than a person. Height becomes time made visible, and beneath those tall forms, the base may be hundreds of years older, shaped by forgotten tides and old sunlight that once warmed the surface long ago. It feels ancient but safe, old but familiar. The reef is not only a place, it is a quiet memory of patience. It is said that some coral skeletons, once they turn to stone, can last thousands of years. Stone becomes history. The idea lingers softly in your mind, forming a warm weight that grounds you into the present moment. It's okay to drift. Near the edges of certain reefs, underwater cliffs descend into deeper blue. These drop-offs appear sudden, but feel gentle, covered in shadows. that move like slow curtains. Temperature shifts gradually as water grows cooler by a degree or two. This cooling settles through the reef like a long exhale, inviting slower movement, softer presence. Down these slopes, fish move in slow spirals, gliding effortlessly, letting gravity guide them gently downward. Motion becomes surrender. It is in these transitional spaces, neither shallow nor deep, that the reef feels most like a dream. Light is scarce but warm. Sound is muffled into a steady hum. The water becomes a soft body that holds everything. Small particles rise and fall, with each tiny current creating an endless snowfall of luminous dust. This dust settles on coral surfaces, then drifts away again, caught in gentle spirals of water. Each spiral feels like the turning of a thought inside a quiet mind. As the night deepens through the imagery, the reef continues its unbroken rhythm. Tiny shrimp clean the surfaces of resting fish. Small starfish move one soft limb at a time across coral mounds. Crabs hide themselves in crevices, opening their eyes just enough to watch the dim world shift around them. Harmony becomes ordinary. Every small being moves with a sense of long-learned calm. It's okay to drift. It feels as though the entire reef is breathing, inhaling warm currents and exhaling cool ones. This breath travels through wide channels across sandy flats and upward into shallow water where moonlight bends softly. The glow of the moon becomes another layer of calm, thinner and more silver than sunlight, but still warm in its own way. The water carries it like a whispered lullaby. The deeper sections of the reef hold secrets shaped in the quiet darkness. Here, large coral heads form intricate patterns within themselves, maze-like ridges that twist gently, forming slow spirals like fingerprints circled by time. These shapes guide small fish through safe pathways. Structure becomes comfort. The image settles into the mind as a warm labyrinth one, where every twist feels soft and predictable. It grows stiller now. The reef seems to pause, though nothing truly stops. Movements simply slow to the point where they feel like memories rather than actions. Sand shifts like soft smoke. Fish drift like distant thoughts. Coral branches hold their shape with ancient patience. The night within you mirrors this stillness, lowering itself gently across your thoughts. It's okay to drift. A quiet line returns, soft and familiar, moving through you like a calm tide. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It lingers long enough to feel true, then dissolves into the warm blue behind your closed eyes. The reef waits in silence, ancient and gentle, holding the next drift of the night within its steady glow. It deepens now, the imagery settling into a slower and quieter ocean. The reef becomes a landscape of gentle shadows, drifting light, and the soft hum of distant water. It exists without hurry, without weight, without anything sharp enough to disturb the night unfolding inside you. The world beyond your room grows dimmer, and the world beneath warm seas grows clearer, as though the two were slowly exchanging places. The night moves around your body like a warm tide rolling over sand. Small truths float forward with the gentleness of soft waves. Sound beneath the water travels farther than in the air, gliding along the seafloor like a low, distant tone. It does not feel loud or intrusive, only steady, a background hum that carries calm through the reef. Above these tones, the reef continues its slow language of motion, faint ripples of water brushing against coral surfaces, barely. There, pulses of current weaving through branching structures. These sounds gather like soft breaths, It's okay to drift. The reef glows faintly, not with bright color, but with a soft diffusion of scattered light. Each coral shape absorbs and releases brightness in its own way, creating a mosaic of dim radiance. Some formations catch moonlight and bend it downward into gentle columns. Others hold pockets of shadow where stillness collects. This interplay between glow and dimness forms a rhythm that feels like the ocean lowering its voice. And within that lowered voice, there is an invitation to rest. It holds the warm memory of sunlight even at night. Much of the heat absorbed during the day lingers in the upper layers of the reef, spreading gradually across the seafloor. Tiny temperature differences, just a degree or two, shape the pathways of small fish. Warm pockets become resting places. Cool pockets become gentle corridors. These contrasts do not disturb. They simply guide. Currents follow them, like thoughts drifting toward the quieter corners of the mind. It feels now as though the reef is breathing you in, drawing your awareness into its slow-moving world. Fish glide in arcs, so soft they might be imagined. Their bodies refract faint gleams, creating threads of drifting silver across the water. Some swim in small groups, turning together like a single drifting thought. Others travel alone, pausing in the shadow of coral heads before continuing their unhurried paths. Every movement echoes the calm that deepens inside you. It's okay to drift. Shadows lengthen across the reef as the moon climbs higher above distant waves. Under this moonlit water, certain corals appear to glow faintly due to natural pigments interacting with dim light. These soft glows transform the reef into a quiet constellation beneath the sea. It becomes an underworld sky, one that moves slower than the stars above, but holds the same sense of timelessness. Light gathers like breath inside the water, spreading gently outward. It is in this dim glow that some of the reef's most delicate creatures appear. Small octopuses shift across the sand, with fluid motions, their bodies mirroring the changing colors around them. Their pulses of color are slow and dreamy, nothing abrupt. They glide into crevices, explore for a moment, then fade into another shadow. Their existence feels like a whisper traveling across the night water. The reef becomes a soft chorus of movements. Spines of sea urchins shimmer gently as they rotate themselves across rocks. Tiny shrimp tap lightly along coral surfaces, creating faint vibrations that barely register as sound, more a trembling of the water than a noise. Even the quietest creatures contribute to the tapestry. In this woven world of subtle rhythms, everything belongs. It's okay to drift. It pulses with life, but never urgently. Some fish change color when night falls, dimming patterns softening their brightness, letting their bodies blend into the calm. These transformations occur gradually, sometimes over the span of several slow breaths. Color becomes a kind of nighttime sigh. The reef uses darkness as a blanket, covering itself in stillness, letting creatures find rest in the folds of gentle shadow. Above the reef, water ripples softly under the moon. The agitation of waves is muted as it descends, becoming a low shimmer that spreads across coral branches, like wind moving through distant trees. This shimmer creates shifting bands of light that cross the reef floor in slow, elongated patterns. These patterns fade, reform, travel, pause, always moving, yet never rushing. It is the ocean's way of covering the reef in moments. It deepens further as night settles more firmly. In warmer regions, the water retains its heat even after losing sunlight, allowing creatures of the reef to move freely without strain. Temperature becomes a gentle constant, a warm cradle for slow lives. The steady warmth allows coral polyps to continue their quiet work, extending tentacles that sway like soft feathers in faint currents. Their feeding does not disturb the surrounding calm. Instead, it adds a layer of subtle motion that feels like a slow heartbeat beneath the water. It is here in these subtle layers that the reef begins to feel like a breathing presence. Each coral head expands and contracts slightly with the movement of water, though not in a way you would see directly. It is a feeling more than an observation, a sense that the reef responds to the water with a rhythm of its own. This rhythm is deep and ancient, older than most life on land, shaped by millions of sunrises and slow tides. It's okay to drift. Somewhere along the reef's surface, schools of tiny fish gather into drifting clouds. They shift together in near silence, forming swirling patterns that resemble smoke caught in slow wind. Their movements scatter moonlight like dust, creating ghostly trails that dissolve almost as soon as they appear. Watching them, even in imagination, feels like watching memories move through water. It stretches outward into soft gradients of blue. The deeper sections hold a quiet, darker than night sky, an oceanic silence that is not empty, only peaceful. The transitions between colors feel like the boundaries between breaths, from deep blue to lighter blue, from shadow to glow, from motion to stillness. In these transitions, everything becomes gentle. Farther out, from the reef's core, sandy flats widen like calm deserts beneath the water. These plains hold tracks left by drifting creatures, soft trails made by sea cucumbers sliding over sand, faint markings from small fish resting briefly before moving on. These markings are erased by slow currents, then remade again. Impermanence becomes calm. It's okay to drift. It is said that certain sea cucumbers can move a few centimeters a minute, slow enough that their motion feels like time itself decelerating. They leave behind clean paths in the sand, filtering small particles as they travel. This constant quiet cleaning keeps the sea floor soft and ready for new life. Purpose becomes peace. These slow creatures shape their world gently, with no need for speed or noise. It quiets even more as the imagery deepens. Far above the reef, the surface of the ocean reflects the night sky, blending starlight with moonlight in undulating patterns. These patterns descend in softened fragments, reaching the reef in broken glimmers. The glimmers look like soft rain falling through blue, though no droplets form, only shifting brightness. Brightness falls like breath. It becomes a world where the boundary between water and sky dissolves. Everything seems to float in layered blue. Coral formations rise from the seafloor like ancient pillars softened by centuries of warm tides. Fish drift through these structures like thoughts moving through a half-asleep mind. Each movement leaves a trail of calm behind it, a faint, unspoken reassurance. It's okay to drift. Some sections of the reef hold large table corals that extend outward like quiet balconies. Beneath these platforms, shadows gather in soft pools, creating safe havens for small creatures to rest. These shadows breathe, with the water expanding slightly, with rising currents contracting as currents fade. The rhythm feels steady, predictable, deeply calming. It spreads into new forms as the night continues. Mounds of coral glow faintly with pigments that respond gently to moonlight. Clusters of small anemones sway in slow synchrony, their tentacles curling and uncurling without urgency. In their movements, something tender emerges a softness that mirrors the looseness spreading through your body. It speaks now through silence rather than motion. The stillness deepens, and the reef becomes a sanctuary where even thought slows to match the pacing of ancient tides. It becomes clear how many centuries were required for these structures to rise. Some coral heads may be more than 500 years old, built one quiet layer at a time. Age becomes a lullaby. It's okay to drift. All around this patch of reef, the distant hum of deeper water fills the low spaces between coral formations. The hum carries no danger, only depth. It feels endless, yet safe, like standing at the edge of a vast plain under soft moonlight. The ocean is large, but its largeness in this moment feels kind, and through this vastness, something familiar returns, drifting gently through the blue. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. The line settles over the reef, like falling light, dissolving slowly into the water's warm calm. Your breath follows it deep and low. Nothing rushes, nothing rises sharply. The night continues its slow descent. It deepens, gently settling into a quieter layer of the world beneath warm water. The reef becomes softer, darker, more spacious. What once shimmered now glows in long, patient breaths of blue. Shapes that were crisp in sunlight are now silhouettes, calm outlines in dim radiance. The night lowers itself over everything, smoothing edges, slowing currents, inviting stillness into every drifting particle. Everything feels older, quieter, more certain of its place in time. It's okay to drift. It changes shape with the deepening night. Sound grows tender here. Water hums through coral branches with a tone so soft it might be mistaken for silence. This hum carries warmth through the reef, like distant singing filtered through thick walls of blue. Nothing rises sharply. Everything folds into stillness. Fish that were vibrant earlier retreat into crevices, lowering their colors, letting quiet become their shelter. The world moves with the gentlest pulse. It is in this near silence that the reef's deeper voice emerges. Sound travels nearly 5 times faster underwater than in air, but the ocean softens its weight, spreading it wide and thin. The tones that reach the reef floor are long, low, and calming. They move like warm wind drifting through valleys. Some of these tones come from distant waves, some from shifting currents, some from small creatures rubbing against coral surfaces. Together, they create a slow underwater choir that resonates through the seafloor. This choir is not music. It is breath turned into sound. It's okay to drift. It is said that in warm tropical nights, the reef soundscape becomes richer than the days. Tiny creatures click softly as they feed. Crabs move grains of sand with gentle scrapes, each movement muffled by water. A distant fish might drum, its swim bladder, a soft vibration carried far across the blue. These sounds arrive without urgency, spaced naturally, like raindrops falling through air heavy with summer. Every sound seems to say, rest is natural, rest is allowed, rest is safe. It expands into a warm labyrinth. Coral towers rise from the seafloor like silent pillars supporting the ceiling of the sea. Between them, narrow corridors hold pockets of still water. In these pockets, motion ceases almost completely. Particles drift in suspended slow fall. Fish hover as though the water itself cradles them. Even the currents hesitate, brushing lightly, against coral surfaces before fading into nothing. These pockets feel like places where time lies down to sleep. It's okay to drift. It becomes clear why so many creatures choose the reef as their quiet home. In the gentle architecture of coral, everything has a place. Tiny blennies tuck themselves into small crevices, resting among smooth grooves shaped over decades. Soft-bodied worms curl in hidden chambers. Snails glide along coral edges with movements so slow they seem like thoughts forming in half-sleep. Each being settles in its own warm corner, and their stillness merges with the calm around you. It shifts the world into colorless softness. At night, most hues fade, leaving blues, greens, and pale silvers melting into one another. But even in this dim palette, gentle sparks appear. Small bioluminescent organisms drift with the currents, glowing faintly as they rise through the water. Their lights pulse slowly, like distant lanterns floating upstream. These pulses create a constellation beneath the sea, shimmering faintly around the coral's edges. Light becomes a soft language, spoken without sound. It's okay to drift. It absorbs the warmth of the evening and releases it in slow breaths. Water near the surface cools by only a degree or two during the night. This thin change diffuses downward, settling over the reef in gentle layers. Creatures sense it, but are not disturbed by it. They simply adjust their positions, drifting slightly to warmer pockets or rising into cooler, more restful water. Every shift is subtle, as if the entire community agreed long ago to move slowly in the presence of darkness. It moves like a dream that has chosen to unfold at its own speed. Corals extend their tentacles into the water, forming delicate crowns that sway with the quietest touch of current. Some of these tentacles glow faintly under moonlight, creating soft halos around coral surfaces. The halos look like slow fires burning underwater, but their flames never rise or flicker. They hold their glow with ancient confidence, as though they've been lighting the seafloor for centuries. It opens into deeper darkness farther from the reef's crest. The seafloor dips, gently descending several meters before leveling into open plains of sand. At these edges, the ocean grows quieter still. Sand holds warmth from the day, releasing it in a thin, soft whisper that warms the currents drifting above. Worms create faint trails across the sand, leaving lines that bend and soften with each passing ripple. Nothing disturbs these trails. They fade and return with the steady pulse of the tide. It's okay to drift, and it holds stories older than memory. Some coral structures here have been building for hundreds of years, adding tiny layers, night after night, year after year. Each polyp lives only a short time, but its skeletal remains join the reef forever, forming part of the foundation for new life. Generation rests on generation. The reef is a cradle of patience, built from countless small lives that gave their quiet strength to the next. In this way, time becomes soft, spacious, and kind. It deepens further into the blue. Above the reef, the water is dark, but not empty. Moonlight filters through in long ribbons, bending and stretching as waves shift overhead. These ribbons flicker gently across the coral surfaces, creating slow dances of brightness. No pattern repeats. No movement is sharp. Light drifts like memory, and as your breath follows it, your chest loosens into a softness that feels both ancient and familiar. It suspends everything, tiny particles floating in the water, begin to look like drifting snow, though each one falls upward sideways or simply remains in place. Their movement is dictated by currents, too soft to be felt, too subtle to disturb. These particles catch fragments of light, creating specks that glow briefly before fading into the dimness. Watching them feels like watching a thought dissolve before it fully forms. It's okay to drift. It becomes a warm map of unhurried motion. Some fish shelter within branching corals, their bodies almost motionless. Others rest on the sand fins, stirring only occasionally. A few linger near the reef's shadows, letting cool water pass slowly across their gills. Rest is the dominant rhythm here. Even predators move softly, conserving their energy, gliding in wide arcs that rarely break the silence. The reef's night is a long exhale. It feels like the ocean is whispering to itself. Low vibrations travel across the seafloor, resonating through coral skeletons, moving from one structure to another. These vibrations come from the soft drumming of distant fish, from far-off currents, from gentle shifting of the reef. They feel like a message passed forward, slowly spread wide, carried through time. They tell the reef that the night is steady, the water warm, the world safe. It rises again into slight brightness as the moon shifts above the horizon. The angle of its light changes, sending broader beams into the water. These beams travel farther than before, settling over coral heads in pale illumination. The glow reveals patterns etched into coral surfaces, ridges, grooves, small valleys, each one shaped by decades of growth. These patterns look like fingerprints written in stone, spiraling calmly outward. Time becomes visible. It follows the slow breath of the sea. Water expands and contracts slightly with temperature changes, creating soft movements that feel like a universal inhale and exhale. Creatures respond instinctively, some rising, some drifting downward, all moving gently in a rhythm older than any single life. The entire reef seems to sway in harmony with this breath. It's okay to drift. It welcomes small creatures returning from open water. Tiny plankton drift back toward the reef as the night deepens. Their glowing bodies shimmer faintly, creating a curtain of pale blue behind the coral branches. These drifting clouds feed many of the reef's inhabitants, though feeding happens quietly. Tentacles extend gently, grasp, then fold inward. Nothing disturbs the calm. Even nourishment becomes soft. It holds a silence that feels alive. As the night grows deeper, larger fish retreat into caves. Octopuses fold themselves into rock hollows. Crabs settle beneath coral arches. Snails curl into shadows. Each creature finds stillness in its own way. And within this collective stillness, the reef's calm becomes vast. It's okay to drift. A familiar line returns from somewhere deep within the blue, carried by the hum of moving water. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It lingers like a warm current, passing gently along the coral, then fades into the soft darkness, where thoughts glide like slow-moving fish. The reef waits with patient warmth steady, an ancient inviting the night to deepen further. It stretches out in front of you like a soft horizon, folded beneath warm blue water. The reef, wrapped in layers of calm darkness, listens to the slow turning of the ocean night. Everything that once glowed brightly now drifts in muted shades, moving with the unbroken breath of the sea. It feels older than memory, quieter than thought, and gentler than silence itself. Each shape rests in its place, each motion softened by distance and time. The night has settled deeper, lowering itself into the reef, as if finding a companion in its stillness. It's okay to drift. It becomes a chamber of echoes, though none are sharp enough to disturb the dark. Underwater sounds stretch themselves thin, traveling in long, slow waves. These waves glide across the seafloor like a deep sigh. Far-off fish release low rumbles that move through the water like distant thunder, softened by miles of warm currents. The sand absorbs the vibrations, sending them outward in smooth circular ripples. Even the smallest scrape from a crab, nudging a grain of sand from a shrimp, shifting its tiny legs, enters this slow echo, joining the night's quiet choir. It holds these sounds like a vast, warm hall that never closes its doors. Soft pulses from tiny creatures create delicate rhythms. Gentle clicks from hidden caverns form patterns that feel like the tapping of rain on distant wooden beams. There is no urgency in these sounds, no rising intensity, only patient repetition. The reef listens to itself and responds through the movement of currents brushing coral branches as though the water were whispering back. It's okay to drift. It darkens slightly as the moon shifts behind a passing cloud, though, underwater, the difference is felt only as a deeper shade of blue. The coral forms now resemble silhouettes within silhouettes. Branching corals become faint outlines. Rounded corals resemble small hills with shadows pooled at their bases. Large plate corals stretch outward like quiet balconies suspended in still air. Everything blends gently into everything else. It is in these softened shapes that small creatures find their comfort. Some fish bury themselves lightly in sand, leaving only their eyes visible. Others wedge themselves into narrow grooves of coral, secure in the warmth of stone and water. Sea stars settle flat against the reef, gripping the surface with slow confidence. Even the drifting plankton seem to pause in their upward movement, hovering like particles suspended in thought. Every being chooses rest. It's okay to drift. It becomes a world without edges, only gradients of shadow and light. Currents that were once noticeable now feel like the soft breath of the deep ocean, exhaling warmth and inhaling coolness in long cycles. These shifts in temperature move across the reef like slow tides of sensation. The water warms slightly near the surface, then cools as it sinks, creating gentle layers that roll through coral passages like invisible waves. They carry comfort where they go. It widens into the blue as the night grows quieter. Large coral heads rise like ancient monuments, softened by centuries of patient growth. Their surfaces hold ridges, shaped by slow currents, grooves carved by gentle erosion, and tiny depressions formed by the settling of small creatures long gone. These marks create patterns that feel like the ocean's handwriting, low, steady, and enduring. The water traces these patterns as it moves, brushing lightly across each contour, like fingers grazing stone. It holds a quiet depth beneath the reef's surface. In the chambers formed by branching corals, pockets of warm water linger, unmoving except for the faintest stirring when a fish swims past. These pockets feel like rooms made for rest, their stillness so complete that even light enters with hesitation. The airlessness of the water softens every sound, turning the world into a place where nothing rises too fast. It's okay to drift. It is said that some reef-dwelling creatures can sense tiny vibrations from meters away. These vibrations travel through coral skeletons with a soft resonance, letting creatures know when something moves far beyond their sight. The reef becomes a shared body, One movement felt gently across many lives. Yet, on nights like this, when the water holds its breath and the currents settle into long horizontal lines, even those vibrations fade into a hum, so soft, it could be mistaken for nothing at all. It turns into a cradle of slow-moving light. Moonbeams slip through the water's surface and scatter into small, rippling shapes. These shapes slide across coral heads in long, stretched patterns. Some appear as narrow stripes of pale silver. Others form wider patches that glow and fade like small tides of brightness. They move at a pace that matches the night slow, drifting unconcerned with time. Watching them, even in imagination, feels like watching a steady rhythm of release each movement, a soft exhale of light. It becomes a warm corridor connecting shadows and glow. Fish that feed during the night move through these corridors in gentle loops, their fins stirring only enough water to propel them forward. Their silhouettes glide like soft ink strokes across a blue canvas. Near the sandy ground, small rays may settle into shallow depressions, covering themselves with thin layers of sand. Their breathing creates slight puffs of sediment, a slow, rising cloud that drifts upward, dissolving into emptiness. It's okay to drift. It shifts toward deeper tones, where warm greens blend into darker blues. The reef becomes a painting with only one brushstroke slow. Every detail unfolds, lazily stretching into long curves rather than sharp lines. The coral's shadow extends across the sand like soft dusk. Sea fans sway with the mildest suggestion of current. Spines on urchins turn like hands moving through thick air. The ocean gives the night its full attention, and the reef receives it without resistance. It holds colors invisible in daylight. Under faint moonlight, some coral pigments emit a soft fluorescence, green or blue, glows that cling to their edges. These glows are not bright. They do not flash or flicker. They bloom slowly and fade slowly, like breaths rising from deep sleep. They create patterns that feel older than language patterns that remain, even if your eyes drift half closed. The night becomes a gallery of slow luminescence. It grows a little cooler in the water, just above the reef, though the change is too soft to startle. Coolness brushes against coral surfaces, then settles into deeper layers where heat has gathered during the day. The balance between warm and cool becomes a gentle rhythm, a slow shift of sensation, filtered through water thick with calm. Creatures respond with subtle adjustments. A small fish may drift slightly upward into warmer water. Another may sink into cooler shadows where rest feels deeper. Each movement is guided by instinct shaped over millions of years. It's okay to drift. It gathers the night's stories. Every sound, every flicker of movement, every shifting particle adds to the tapestry. Small crabs tap along the reef in deliberate motions, pausing between steps. Tiny clicking shrimp release faint snaps that scatter through the water like seeds. Worms curl their bodies to move grains of sand aside. Even the silent ones, the ones that hide, the ones that sleep, add their stillness to the reef's pulse. It feels timeless. Currents that once shaped these structures have long slowed, giving way to the patient movement of the sea at rest. Coral skeletons built by countless small lives hold the weight of the night without bending. The reef has endured warm seasons, long storms, bright days, and deep nights. And yet here it lies, calm, and steady, growing grain by grain, layer by layer, expanding its quiet presence under the same moon that lights your room. It's okay to drift. It becomes a place where the universe feels close. Distant vibrations from open water echo through coral formations, reminding the reef of the larger ocean beyond its borders. But those vibrations never carry urgency. They arrive softened, stretched slow. They blend with the hum of the water, moving through narrow channels. Together, they form a deep, resonant note that seems to rise from the ocean floor itself. It continues its slow bloom as night stretches deeper. Some corals retract their tentacles again, settling into rest. Fish lower their fins, allowing the water to carry them. Anemones curl inward slightly, like flowers closing under darkness. Even the drifting plankton settle in layers, forming soft curtains that sway like distant veils. It's okay to drift. The night, patient and warm, moves closer to your breath. The reef becomes a place where thought sinks, where edges dissolve, where silence gathers itself into something comforting and full. You feel the weight of the ocean without pressure, the depth without cold, the darkness without fear. And through that depth, through that ancient patience, the familiar line returns, soft, steady, inevitable. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It lingers like the faint glow along a coral ridge, then fades into the slow, shimmering blue, leaving only warmth and breath behind. It rests beneath the warm darkness, like an ancient cradle carved from time and water. The reef, now deep in the quiet of night, leans into its own stillness. Every curve, every ridge, every branching silhouette has softened. Even its glow seems to have slowed to match the drifting rhythm of the ocean around it. The world you're moving through is quieter than thought, heavier than breath, and softer than sleep beginning to settle. It's okay to drift. It opens itself to the low hum of the sea. This hum rises from places too deep to see, carried through layers of water that stretch for kilometers in patient folds. The sound arrives in long, steady vibrations that roll across the reef like warm thunder muted by distance. Coral structures absorb the vibrations, passing them gently through their skeletons in waves too slow to startle. The reef does not resist this hum. It welcomes it, letting the sound become part of its long, unbroken breath. It takes the night inside itself. Small creatures still move across its surface, but their motions have grown quieter, almost imperceptible. Tiny crustaceans sweep sand grains aside with soft taps. Snails leave thin, shining trails across coral stone. A distant fish turns in place with a gentle flick that barely stirs the water. These movements fall into the same slow frequency, merging with the hum beneath the reef. The entire world moves as one. It's okay to drift. It holds warmth from the day in layers that settle like soft blankets. The water near the coral heads remains a little warmer than the surrounding sea, radiating a gentle heat that spreads through narrow channels and hollowed spaces. This residual warmth creates subtle currents that move like slow breezes under the water. Fish gather near these pockets, letting the comfort hold them still. Even those that usually travel long distances stop here, folding into the warmth with contentment formed over millions of nights. It becomes clearer why the reef is called the rainforest of the sea, though the comparison barely touches its tenderness. Unlike forests where sound rises in bursts and light changes sharply, the reef never raises its voice. It grows in silence, and glows in silence, and breathes in silence. Even its storms are patient, And because its patience is so deep, the beings that inhabit it learn calmness from the moment they emerge into the world. It listens to everything. Sound carries from far beyond the reef, perhaps from waves breaking gently on a shore, dozens of kilometers away. These distant sounds arrive beneath the water as softened versions of themselves refracted so many times that they feel like something ancient whispering through the deep. The reef absorbs them all, then lets them fade into the wide blue. The fading feels like a memory dissolving into sleep. It's okay to drift. It holds long histories in its shape. Some coral colonies have grown layer by thin layer for centuries. Their skeletons remember storms, seasons, migrations, warm years, cool years. All these memories remain locked within the calcium stone, hidden from sight but present in the quiet weight of the reef. When currents brush against these structures, they touch history itself, warm, patient, enduring. Time becomes soft in places like this. It stretches toward the dim surface, where moonlight drifts in patterns that change slower than minutes. These patterns bend as they pass through the rippling top layer, forming long bands of silver that descend into the deep blue. They land gently on coral branches, holding for a moment before dissolving back into darkness. These dissolutions look like breaths disappearing into still air. Light does not vanish here. It simply rests. It becomes a place where motion feels optional. A large fish rests near the shadow of a coral head, moving only enough to remain balanced in the slight current. A sleeping turtle drifts along the edge of the reef, rising slowly with each breath and sinking again when the breath leaves its body. Small rays settle into the sand, their outlines blending into the pale floor until they become shapes of stillness rather than creatures. Rest is the reef's most fluent language. It's okay to drift. It reveals subtle colors, even in the darkest water. The faint fluorescence of some corals emits tender greens and blues that bloom softly across their surfaces. The glow pulses gently, not in any pattern you can track, but in the natural rhythm of the reef's own presence. The glow seems to breathe with the water. It grows faint. It brightens slightly. It fades again. These changes unfold at a pace slower than tides. Watching them feels like floating between waking and sleep. It expands downward into deeper water, where the reef gives way to sandy plains. Here, the ocean feels wider, the darkness softer, the hum deeper. Sand shifts under the faint movement of rays and worms. The ground breathes with the tide lifting and lowering grains, so slowly the motion becomes invisible. The sand stores the day's warmth and releases it in a thin wave that rolls gently through the water like a warm sigh spreading across a quiet room. It is here that the reef's night chorus grows its quietest. The further from the crest, the more the echoes of the sea blend into a single tone. The tone is deep and smooth, carrying a sense of distance and closeness at the same time. It moves through coral hollows and along the sandy floor, gathering strength and softness in equal measure. When it reaches the heart of the reef, it becomes nearly inaudible, felt more than heard. It's okay to drift. It transforms into a dim web of slow connections. Coral branches reach outward in patterns shaped by light and water. Channels between them create corridors for small fish to rest. These corridors twist and turn like gentle mazes, offering countless places for creatures to hide, pause, breathe. Some of these spaces are so narrow that only a single thin fish can slip through. Others are wide enough for dozens to gather in a dim, warm circle, sharing the calm. Community here grows from stillness, rather than motion. It begins to sense dawn long before light arrives. In the deeper blue, water cools slightly as the night reaches its quietest point. Some creatures detect the shift and respond in small ways, moving an inch, adjusting their posture, pulsing their fins. But the reef does not change quickly. It continues its slow night rhythm, choosing softness over anticipation. Dawn can approach at its own patient speed. It gathers small clouds of drifting plankton. These tiny lives glow faintly, creating a curtain of moving dots across the deep water. They rise and settle in waves too slow to notice unless you watch with the pace of the ocean. This rising is the world's largest migration, repeated every night in silence. It is gentle, unhurried, luminous. Light from the moon catches their bodies as they drift past coral crests. The scattering of pale blue looks like starlight falling into water. It's okay to drift. It becomes calm enough to forget where sound ends and silence begins. The reef absorbs more and more of the night's low hum until the water feels weightless with quiet. Fish rest, raise still. Even the small urchins stop turning their spines. Only the slow pulse of distant currents remains brushing the sand in patient strokes. The reef seems suspended in time, held in a pause that lasts long enough to soften everything inside you. It stretches across the ocean floor like a long, slow thought. Each coral head, each growth, each shape contributes to a single unbroken presence. The reef is not a place of many parts. It is one continuous breath held by thousands of small lives. Their combined stillness creates a sensation of gentle gravity, pulling everything toward calm. Every piece belongs to every other. The weight of the ocean feels lighter here. The night feels warmer. It holds onto the subtle glow of bioluminescent microorganisms that drift along its edges. Their tiny lights spark gently before fading. These sparks do not illuminate the water, they decorate it. They flutter like embers drifting above a dark, warm fire. Each spark lasts only a moment, but they appear in such slow harmony that they feel endless. Watching them feels like watching thoughts dissolve as the mind sinks deeper into rest. It's okay to drift. It becomes clear why the reef, even in darkness, feels like an open sanctuary. Nothing hides with intention. Nothing moves with fear. Everything exists in the rhythm of the night, the soft pulse, the long shadows, the warm currents that hold their shape even as they shift. The reef understands this rhythm the way your body understands how to rest in darkness. The ocean and the night speak the same language. It absorbs another layer of calm. The water slows to its quietest state. Movements within it become so gentle, they feel like tiny adjustments in a dream. Coral polyps withdraw, fins pause, tentacles curl inward. The reef settles into itself. Even the smallest vibrations fade. Only the deep hum of the ocean floor remains low and steady. It's okay to drift. And from within that deep hum, somewhere between glow and shadow, between sound and stillness, the familiar line returns once more, softer than ever. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It breathes through the reef like a tide that knows the way home. Then it sinks again into the warm blue, leaving the night softer than before. It settles into a deeper layer of blue where the night ocean becomes a vast quiet that stretches farther than sight or sound. The reef lies wrapped in that quiet breathing with the slow tides that rise and fall across its surface. Each movement of water feels softer now, less like motion, and more like memory, flowing through a place that has known countless nights just like this one. The darkness around it carries warmth rather than weight, as if the sea itself were holding the reef in a calm, unbroken embrace. It's okay to drift. It unfolds in long shapes that drift between clarity and shadow. Coral heads appear as rounded mounds in the dim light, softened by centuries of tides. Branching corals turn into delicate silhouettes that sway with motions too small to name. Plate corals lie like wide, gentle steps stacked down the slope of the seafloor. Every structure seems carved by slowness, every curve shaped by patience older than speech. Even the smallest movements feel deliberate, chosen slow. It shifts with the long pulses of the tide. These pulses come from far across the ocean, traveling for hundreds of kilometers before reaching the reef. When they arrive, they do not crash. They spread gently through the water, pushing warm layers slightly upward and pulling cooler layers slowly downward. The movement feels like a long, warm breath passing through the reef. Creatures respond without hurry. A fish lifts itself a few centimeters. A crab rotates in place. A sleeping ray rises slightly from the sand. Then, all settles again. It's okay to drift. It grows quieter as the tide turns. The distant hum of deep water lowers to a softer frequency, vibrating faintly through coral skeletons like a memory of sound. The motion of tiny creatures becomes almost stillness. Shrimp slow, their tapping snails, pause between glides. Worms move in delicate curls across the sand. Their stillness shapes the night as much as their movement. The reef becomes a place where time feels as though it has paused to rest. It holds the faint glow of bioluminescent plankton drifting above its surface. These tiny lights flicker in soft waves as currents move them back and forth, creating a sparkling layer just above the coral branches. The glimmers form no pattern, no rhythm, only slowly shifting constellations of pale blue. Some pulses drift downward, brushing against coral surfaces before rising again. They feel like soft messages carried on the night water. The glow spreads gently across the reef, lighting its edges with a quiet shimmer. It's okay to drift. It opens toward the deeper plane beyond its boundary. This plane stretches into darkness, a wide expanse of sand, shaped by long waves. Farther from the reef, the ocean grows stiller. The hum fades. Light fades. Movement fades. Only the slow tide remains. Sand absorbs the warmth of the day, releasing it upward in soft sheets that warm the water near the surface of the plain. This warmth drifts toward the reef in gentle ribbons, brushing against coral structures like thin currents of breath. It feels like the world has softened into layers of warm and cool, bright and dim motion and stillness. These layers shift in slow patterns, drifting across the reef like invisible curtains. When warm water passes over a coral head, the coral's tiny polyps extend slightly, feeling the change, like a soft invitation. When cooler water settles in shadowed places, fish move into them and let their bodies sink into restful suspension. The whole reef adjusts to these layers, with movements so slight they feel like a collective exhale. It senses small vibrations carried from far-off depths. Deep-water fish send low frequencies through the ocean that travel great distances without losing their softness. These vibrations reach the reef like deep notes, humming through stone. They do not startle, they do not disturb. They feel like the ocean speaking in sleep. The reef listens in its own quiet way, absorbing each vibration into its long, calm rhythm. It's okay to drift. It glows softly from within as moonlight bends across the water's surface. The bending creates gentle distortions, slow ripples of brightness that slide down through the water column. When these ripples reach the reef, they stretch across coral surfaces as pale streaks, illuminating ridges and grooves carved by centuries of warm tides. These streaks drift and dissolve, like thoughts entering and leaving a mind half asleep. Each streak lasts long enough to feel familiar, then fades without urgency. It becomes a place shaped entirely by the night's softness. Coral branches sway in slow arcs. Fans of delicate tissue rise and fall with the faintest currents. The movement looks like breathing. Large, rounded formations hold shadows that deepen and lighten with every shift of the moon. Within these shadows, creatures tuck themselves into the reef's gentle architecture, hidden but never lost. It holds fragile structures that glow under darkness. Some corals possess natural pigments that respond to even the faintest moonlight. These pigments emit gentle greens, blues, or whites. The glow does not light the ocean. It rests inside the coral, as though the reef carried its own nightlight woven into its skin. The brightness drifts across their surfaces in pulses slower than time. It's okay to drift. It begins to merge with the deeper ocean around it. The colors blend, the shapes soften, the boundary between reef and water dissolves. What was once coral becomes shadow. What was shadow becomes light. What was light becomes stillness. The transitions are so seamless that the reef feels like one long breath stretched across the seafloor. The night's calm becomes part of its structure, sinking into every crevice and curve. It moves with the rhythm of rising plankton clouds. These small beings travel upward each night, drifting through blue in slow sheets. As they pass over the reef, their bodies scatter light into tiny arcs. The scattering looks like sparks floating through water, turning and settling in slow spirals. Some creatures extend soft tentacles to catch these drifting particles. Others simply watch the movement with quiet attention. The upward migration feels like an ocean dream, repeating itself endlessly. It becomes a warm world, suspended between breaths. Coral polyps sway in patterns that would be invisible during the day, but now appear like faint dances beneath the moon. These movements are older than memory, older than language, older than the reef itself. They sway slowly back and forth, responding to currents too soft to feel. The sway brings food, warmth, and calm. It carries the night inside their bodies. It's okay to drift. It welcomes the slow settling of sediments that fall from shallow water. These tiny grains drift downward in long spirals, landing on coral surfaces before the next faint current lifts them into motion again. Their movement is neither purposeful nor random. It simply follows the soft laws of water and gravity. Watching them feels like watching time fall in slow, gentle loops. It expands into a deeper, richer silence. Larger creatures rest now. A turtle floats in a suspended drift above the reef, moving only when breath rises inside its shell. A nurse shark lies motionless along the sandy bottom, its body blending with shadow. A large parrotfish sleeps within a coral chamber, wrapped in a thin mucus cocoon that glistens faintly in moonlight. Their stillness fills the night. Rest becomes the only motion. It is said that the reef at night is one of the quietest places in the ocean, even though thousands of creatures continue their subtle routines. The quiet does not come from an absence of sound. It rises from the softness of sound. Every click, every brush of fin, every shift of sand is cushioned by water, thick with calm. The sounds melt into one another, forming a lullaby that stretches across the entire reef. It's okay to drift. It holds on to this lullaby as the night reaches its deepest point. Moonlight fades behind slow-moving clouds. The water cools by a degree, then another, creating a soft, sinking sensation along the reef's surface. Creatures sense the shift and settle more deeply into rest. The reef becomes darker, quieter, warmer in its core. It feels like reaching the bottom of a long, slow breath. It drifts further into the warm blue. A faint glow appears in the distance, where the reef slopes downward into deeper water. This glow comes from organisms living in near darkness, bioluminescent worms, and small crustaceans that release soft pulses of light as they move. The glow spreads in calm waves, rising and falling like distant firelight. It illuminates the lower reef in pale blues and greens, before dissolving again into shadow. It becomes a world where gravity loosens. Fish hang motionless. Sand falls upward in gentle currents. Coral branches sway like feathers suspended in fluid air. Even the hum of the deep ocean feels lighter, as though sound itself has grown tired of traveling. Everything floats. Even you and your mind float with it. It's okay to drift. It receives the night the way a valley receives. Fog, slowly, completely, quietly. Every fold of coral, every chamber, every hidden pathway fills with the same stillness. Even the currents seem to forget their direction, moving only because water must move somewhere. The reef becomes a cradle for silence, holding it gently, letting it accumulate like soft snow. And in the depth of that silence, through water thick with calm, the familiar line returns again, softened by distance. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It drifts through the reef like a slow beam of light, then dissolves into blue, leaving the world quieter and warmer than before. It drifts deeper into its own stillness, settling into the softest layer of the night. The reef no longer feels anchored to the seafloor. It seems to hover a few quiet breaths above it, suspended within warm, unmoving water. Shapes that once held edges now appear weightless, as though gravity has loosened its hold beneath the dark. Coral branches glow faintly, then fade, then glow again in pulses, too slow to follow. The entire world rests in a warm blue that neither rises nor falls. It's okay to drift. It becomes a place where silence has shape. The hum of the deep ocean grows distant until it feels like a memory rather than a sound. Only the softest vibrations remain, the whisper of a small fin brushing water, the muted shift of sand as a creature settles the barely there pulse of a current changing direction. These vibrations float through the reef like threads of breath moving across a sleeping mind. Nothing disturbs them, nothing rushes. Everything holds its place with grace. It carries the warmth of unseen tides. Even at this hour, when light is almost gone from the world above, the water holds the memory of daytime heat. That warmth lingers in wide pockets surrounding the coral heads, creating invisible cushions that cradle small fish. They hover inside these pockets with relaxed fins, letting the warmth keep them buoyant. Their bodies rise and fall, with their slow breathing floating as if they weigh nothing at all. The reef feels lighter with them. It expands across the ocean floor with a calm that resists time. Coral structures, built through centuries, now seem like drifting islands, not anchored masses. Their shadows sway gently stretched by moonlight, filtered through a rippling surface. The ripples shift in patterns that move slower than clouds, slower than tides, slower than rest itself. These patterns glide across the reef like thin veils of silver, touching each surface before gliding onward. Light becomes movement. Movement becomes stillness. Stillness becomes comfort. It's okay to drift. It embraces the drifting clouds of plankton rising through the dark water. These tiny beings move upward in slow waves, forming soft curtains that shimmer in faint moonlight. The curtains drift and fold, creating dim corridors of brightness that pass over coral branches. As each curtain moves through the reef, small fish stir gently, opening their eyes, just enough to follow the movement. Then they settle again, letting the quiet regain its depth. The plankton continue upward, leaving warm traces of their glow behind them. It grows softer as the night deepens. Coral polyps retract and extend again in slow cycles that resemble the lift and fall of sleeping breath. Fans of feather-like organisms sway in rhythms that echo distant tides. Sand shifts beneath rays, resting half-buried, shaping small hollows that mold themselves to their bodies. Even the cracking of distant shrimp becomes faint, softened by layers of warm water. The reef breathes with the night, but the breaths grow slower, wider, easier to fall into. It sinks into a deeper quiet where colors lose their names. Blues darken into deeper blues. Greens dissolve into soft gray. Silvers turn pale, then disappear into shadow. What remains is a palette of warm darkness, textured only by gradients of glow. The reef's edges blur into the surrounding water until it feels like everything is floating inside the same soft, unbroken shape. The eye moves without catching on anything sharp. Thoughts drift without holding on to anything heavy. It's okay to drift. It feels older now, as though the weight of thousands of nights gently pulls it towards stillness. Coral skeletons, built by countless generations, hold the memory of long tides and long seasons. They hold storms and calm years, cold currents and warm ones. All of those moments settle into the structure of the reef, creating a feeling of deep endurance. Time here is not measured by hours or days, but by the slow accumulation of quiet. When water brushes over these structures, it touches centuries. It opens toward the darker boundary, where the reef meets deeper water. In this boundary zone, shadows gather like soft folds of velvet. The shadows rise and fall, with the swell never fully settling, but never rushing. Inside them, small creatures drift with wings that resemble delicate feathers. They move without direction, lifted and lowered by currents, so gentle they cannot be felt. Light touches their bodies in silver arcs before fading into empty blue. Their slow motion fills the night with a tender sense of weightlessness. It transforms the water around it into something that feels almost like air. The temperature is constant, the movement minimal, the density embracing. Fish, drifting near coral heads, barely move their fins. They glide as though guided by an unseen hand. Rays lift slightly from the sand, hover then lower again to rest. Some creatures simply float, suspended perfectly between rising and falling, holding themselves in a state that resembles dreaming. The reef holds them in this stillness. It's okay to drift. It glimmers with faint fluorescence that emerges only when the water is calmest. Certain corals emit soft light along their ridges, greens, blues, occasional hints of violet that pulse like heartbeats made of glow. These pulses are so slow they seem to exist outside of time. The glow spreads across the reef in thin waves, traveling through branch tips and plate edges, then dissolving back into darkness. The glimmer is subtle, but certain, like an ancient signal shared between worlds. It holds the final warmth of the rising tide. As water lifts slightly around the reef, a low current sweeps over coral surfaces, carrying heat from shallower layers. This heat spreads like warm breath across the reef's skin, brushing soft shapes into shadows, smoothing roughness into quiet contours. The current moves slowly past fan corals, bending them in steady arcs, then flows downward into the sandy plains. The sand absorbs the warmth, holds it, and releases it back in slower waves. It hears distant echoes traveling from deeper waters. These echoes may come from large fish moving in open darkness, from shifting layers of water far below, from unseen mountains rising in the deep. But by the time they reach the reef, they have lost their sharpness. They arrive as long vibrations, gentle and round. Coral branches hum with their touch. Sleeping creatures feel them pass, like soft tremors moving through a dream. These tremors do not wake the night they deepen it. It's okay to drift. It begins to detach from the boundaries of space. Where the reef ends and the open ocean begins becomes difficult to notice. The transition is slow blending coral shapes into water shadows into empty blue. Even the sandy floor merges into the deep, its texture fading into softness. The reef becomes less a physical structure and more a drifting presence, an ancient breath suspended between currents. It floats in the warm pressure of the sea. Despite the depth, the pressure feels steady and comforting, as though the water is holding everything in place with gentle hands. Coral towers stand firm, but seem lighter than stone. Sea fans sway, but never bend far. Fish glide, but rarely choose direction. Everything moves simply to continue existing within the softness of the night. It carries the weight of millions of tiny lives resting at the same moment. Each small creature, each polyp, each plankton, each drifting shadow adds to the hush. It's as if all the universe's quieter voices have gathered here, layered in blue and stillness. Their rest becomes the reef's rest. The reef's rest becomes the ocean's. The ocean's rest becomes a calm that seems to settle across every corner of the world. It reveals the subtle rhythms that govern rest. Each coral head follows cycles of expansion and contraction, measured not in seconds, but in long stretches of stillness. Each fish follows patterns shaped by temperature, shadow, and current. Each grain of sand moves according to forces so gentle they feel like the shifting of dreams. Even light follows pathways that drift rather than travel. The universe's slow physics play out in miniature, here softened by the warmth of the sea. It reaches the quietest moment of the night. The hum of distant water dips to a low, lingering note. The glow of plankton curtains fades into scattered sparks. The motion of fish becomes barely perceptible. Coral branches hold their shapes without sway. The reef seems to hang in mid-water, weightless and timeless, as if the ocean were pausing just long enough to sink into deeper calm. It's okay to drift. It gathers all the softness of the night and folds it into the warm blue that surrounds it. In this softness, the reef feels infinite, as though its edges extend beyond sight, beyond thought, beyond the world itself. The water grows heavier in its calm, yet lighter in its touch. Everything floats, everything rests, and in that deep suspended quiet, the familiar line returns, slowly, softly, like the glow of a distant reef rising from shadow. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. It drifts across the warm water, gliding through coral corridors and over silent sand, before dissolving once more into the deep, patient blue. You drift now, at the edge of the quietest hour, where the reef below you softens into a single warm breath. The world that once glowed in shades of blue and silver dissolves into gentle darkness, and the contours of coral that held shape through the long night now blend into flowing shadow. Everything around you loosens. Everything inside you falls into slower rhythm. And in this softness, you feel the ocean carry you the way a tide carries a feather light, steady, unbroken. You are safe here, warm. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The water below you is calm enough to reflect the memory of the moon, even though the moon has slipped behind distant clouds. Its glow lingers on the surface, like something remembered more than seen. You move through that faint glow, as though you belong to it. Your limbs grow light, your chest loosens, your breath slides lower, deeper, slower. It's okay to drift, slow. The reef is no longer a place you look at. It is a presence that holds you gently, like a cradle made of light and depth and time. You do not sink. You do not rise. You simply float, suspended in the warm stillness that has shaped this underwater world for thousands of years. Every part of you begins to follow that softness, as if your thoughts were lowering their shoulders and letting silence take the weight. You are safe here, slow and warm. Tiny currents brush against you in long, barely felt waves. They move with the same softness as the deep pulses of the ocean floor. You sense them the way you sense drifting sleep, a subtle shift, a quiet letting go. Each wave moves through you like a whisper of warmth, smoothing the last edges of the day from your mind. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Your body becomes easier to hold. It feels as though the ocean has taken some of its weight, sharing it with the water around you. Shoulders loosen, the spine settles, muscles release in small, quiet drops. You drift without choosing direction. The reef glows below you in faint memories of blue and green, though you no longer need to see it clearly. Its presence is enough. You are safe here, low, still floating. The night deepens, but the deepness does not feel like darkness. It feels like a warm envelope, soft pressure around the body, gentle weightlessness beneath it. You drift through it light, as a thought that's halfway to sleep. The reef becomes quieter. The water becomes slower. Your breath becomes the softest thing in the world. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. A long, slow current rises from below, lifting you by only a thought's width, then lowering you again in a motion so gentle you barely notice it. It feels like someone smoothing the air under you. It feels like being carried. It feels like a memory of floating you've always known, returning after a long time away. You are safe here, still warm low. The coral structures beneath you fade into soft silhouettes, dissolving into one another until they look like drifting hills of shadow. Light passes through them in thin strands, blue sliding into deeper blue, like the night teaching itself how to rest. You feel your thoughts sliding the same way downward, inward, slower, quieter. You float inside that movement without effort. You drift with it as naturally as the reef drifts through its long, patient hours. Somewhere in that stillness, a soft echo rises, familiar, gentle, shaped like a memory. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. The echo moves through you like warmth spreading across your chest. It doesn't ask anything of you. It simply rests inside your breath, as though it were something you carried long before tonight. You are safe here, sheltered, soft. The reef below you grows darker. Its glow dims further, not vanishing, but settling into a deeper layer of calm. Bioluminescent sparks drift upward in slow spirals, one here, another there. Tiny flecks of pale green that shimmer for a moment before fading back into blue. They rise like thoughts you no longer need, floating upward, drifting away. Your body follows the softness. Your arms feel weightless, as if the water has taken them gently. Your legs release all tension. Even the muscles along the spine loosen one small segment at a time, like petals opening into warm water. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The tide shifts again. You hardly feel the motion. The shift is like a long, slow hand cupping you from below. It lifts you only enough to remind you that the water holds you. Then it settles. Then it lifts again, each motion smoother than the last. You are safe here. Warm, drifting, slow. The night feels thicker around you, but the thickness supports you. It feels like floating inside a warm cloud. The reef becomes a single shape beneath the dark, gently pulsing with the rhythm of the waves. Sounds become deeper, rounder, barely, their vibrations moving through the water and through your chest. These vibrations match your breath, matching the slow rise and fall that lengthens with each moment. Your thoughts begin dissolving at the edges. They stretch into soft shapes before disappearing into the blue. You do not chase them. They drift away like tiny shells carried by a tide. The ocean takes them, one by one, until all that remains is a long, slow feeling of being carried. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. The glow of plankton curtains fades into thin silver haze. The reef dims into a blur. The water thickens into warmth. Everything narrows to a single calm rhythm, yours and the ocean's aligned. You float inside that alignment without effort. Your thoughts drift slower. Your breath drifts deeper. Sleep draws close, quiet, and certain. You are safe here. Low, slow, warm. The reef beneath you softens until it feels like you are floating above a gentle, glowing shadow. Fish that moved earlier have fully settled. Rays lie still in soft depressions. Coral branches sway only when the faintest current brushes them. Every living thing has folded into rest, and the water carries you with them. Your position in the ocean becomes less defined. The water holds you so evenly that you can no longer tell where your body ends and the sea begins. Warmth dissolves boundaries. Stillness dissolves shape. You are floating in the softest possible version of night, drifting through a world that breathes without hurry. A long, slow current rises beneath you again, and this time the sensation feels like your body is being lifted into weightlessness. There is no downward pull, no tension, only floating. You breathe softly, and the universe exhales through you. Nothing in this world asks you to stay awake. Nothing asks you to move. You drift through layers of calm, as though you're moving deeper into a warm, endless blue. The reef becomes a distant glow. The glow becomes a memory. The memory becomes a soft hum vibrating through your chest. You are safe here, slow, low, warm. The night's last tide carries you gently forward. The movement is soft, round, drifting in long arcs that guide you without pressure. You follow its curve not by choice, but by comfort. Each motion eases the body further into the quiet beneath thought. Each gentle rise dissolves another layer of wakefulness. You float now, not in water, but in something even softer, something like breath, something like sleep. And through that softness, the familiar echo returns once more faint, as moonlight sliding across still water. In the quiet between stars, you are remembered. The words drift through the warm darkness, linger beside you, then dissolve into the calm that holds your body so gently. Your breath becomes slower. Your body becomes quieter. Your thoughts become lighter. And now, as the night begins its final descent, the closing lines rise softly wrapped in warm blue. Light still travels. The universe breathes through you. You are home. You can rest now. If you're still awake, the next wonder waits in the light ahead.